my channel. My name is Kayla. I like to tell scary stories that I find fascinating on the internet, and all through October my videos will be black and white because it's the theme. And today's story is called Wall Mirrors. Yeah, and let's just get right into it. Wall Mirror is a creepy story written by a user who goes by the nickname it's XX Tiffany with an IXX, with a little help from Scary for Kids. Rosalind Brindley was just like any other teenage girl. She loved looking at herself in the mirror. On her bedroom wall there was a small oval mirror, and she spent hours gazing at her own reflection in it. Sometimes she would use the mirror to put on her makeup. At other times she would just stand in front of it, brush her hair. Often she just used it to check herself out, and convince herself she was still attractive. However, every night before she went to bed, she would take the mirror down from the wall and face it down on the ground. She couldn't quite explain it, but she hated to see reflections in the mirror in the dark. It creeped her out. Perhaps she was afraid of what she might find staring back at her from inside the mirror. I gotta do that. I gotta do a video of just staring in the mirror in the dark. So, eventually. One night at the end of October, her parents went out, leaving her home alone. She sat on the couch watching a couple of bad horror movies to pass the time. Around 2 a.m. she started to nod off. So she decided to go upstairs and stumble into bed. She walked to her bedroom, half asleep. As soon as she plopped down on her bed, she was out cold. She didn't realize that she had forgotten to take her mirror off the wall. It was facing her. Later that night, Rosalind was awoken by the rumble of a thunderstorm. She rubbed her eyes, sat up in bed. It was very dark and she could barely see anything in the room. Glancing to her left, she noticed that the mirror was still on the wall. All of a sudden, there was a flash of lightning, and it lit up her room. Staring into her mirror, Rosalind saw something that frightened her. There were these 3 little kids staring at her. Their skin was ghostly pale. Their eyes were completely black. She covered her mouth, trying not to scream. She prayed that it had just been a terrible nightmare, or her imagination conjured up shapes in the darkness. There was another flash of lightning. This time there was nothing in the mirror, just her own reflection. Sighing to leave, she closed her eyes and laid back on her pillow. Rosalind slept until noon, and when she woke up, the storm was still going on outside. She had an unbearable pain in her left thigh. When she woke up her pant leg to see what was hurting her, she found a gash in her thigh that was 2 inches long and 1 inch deep. It was fresh and still bleeding. She had no idea what had caused this to happen. Wincing in pain, she stumbled out of bed and tried to stand up. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw something in her mirror, or on her mirror. There was a message scrawled in blood. It read, "We missed watching you. Sleep at night." Rosalind screamed and fell back onto her bed. A child's voice boomed in her mind. "Don't scream. It hurts our ears." She covered her mouth and looked around her room. There was nobody around. She picked up a phone and called her best friend, Dahlia. "Hello?" said Dahlia. "Thank God you answered," said Rosalind. "Something happened, Dahlia. I can't explain right now, but I'm scared. Can I please come over to your house? My parents aren't home yet, even though they told me they would be back by now. Please." "Of course," replied Dahlia. "Thanks, I'll be over in 5. When Rosalind hung up, she looked at the mirror again. The message was gone. It was as if the words had been wiped off. It looked pristine, like nothing had ever been written there. She ran downstairs out the front door, not stopping until she reached Dahlia's house. Rosalind pounded on her friend's door. As soon as Dahlia opened it, Rosalind raced inside, shaken with fear. She showed Dahlia the open wound on her leg and told her everything that had happened. Dahlia was speechless. "I don't know what to say," she stammered. "And you're sleeping over here tonight, right?" Rosalind nodded, yes. The 2 girls spent the rest of the day watching movies and playing games on the Wii. That night, they both fell asleep on Dahlia's bed, around midnight. Hours later, Rosalind woke up, her legs burning and her mouth thirsty. She got out of bed, headed to the kitchen for a glass of water. In the hallway, there was a big mirror that hung on the wall, over a coffee table. She tried not to look at it, but something drew her closer to it. What she saw disturbed her. In the mirror, there were 12 children. They had pale skin, black eyes, just like the others. She ran into the kitchen and tried to get the horrible image out of her mind. Just then, she noticed an old mirror on the wall. Above the sink, unable to resist, she looked into it. Reflected in the mirror, she saw her own parents. Their skin was pale white, and their eyes were pitch black. They looked as though they were dead. "Mama? Daddy?" she choked. She slowly backed away, tears running down her cheeks. She slipped on a puddle of water and fell backwards, hitting her head on a table. She passed out. Upstairs, Dahlia suddenly woke up and looked around. When she saw that Rosamond was missing, she went to look for her. When she approached the kitchen door, Dahlia was horrified to see her friend's bloody hand lying motionless on the ground. She pushed the door open and screamed. Rosamond's mangled body lay sprawled on the kitchen floor. She was naked and covered from the head to toe in bloody scratches. On her chest, scratched into her flesh, were the words, "She belongs to us now." Dahlia recoiled in terror. She looked up at the mirror over the sink and saw something that sent her fleeing from the kitchen. Written in blood were the words, "You're next." Dahlia grabbed the phone, called the police. Soon, 2 homicide detectives arrived at her house. The writing in the mirror had disappeared. They found Rosamond's mangled body lying on the floor. Dahlia was slumped in a corner, her arms clutching her knees and muttering to herself. "What happened here?" asked one of the detectives. "The mirrors," mumbled Dahlia. "What about the mirrors?" she asked. "They live in the mirrors," Dahlia replied. "Who lives in the mirrors?" he asked. "Them," she screamed. "At night they watch us sleep." The police thought Dahlia was insane. When they searched Rosamond's house, they found the mangled bodies of her parents. Pondering the horrible scene, the police tried to figure out exactly what had gone on. The theory they came up with was that Rosamond had probably gone insane. She must have murdered her own parents, they said, and then she took her own life. The police quickly closed the case, labeling it a murder-suicide. They took the corpses of Rosamond and her parents to the morgue for an autopsy. They handcuffed Dahlia and told her they were bringing her down to the station for questioning. As they were leaving, Dahlia looked up the mirror once more. In the mirror, she saw Rosamond's pale face with blackened eyes staring back at her. "I'm next," she mumbled as the police led her away. Is that it? Yeah. That was a good one. I hope you guys liked that video. Please give it a thumbs up. I hope you guys enjoyed that story. Please give it a thumbs up. If you did, subscribe to this channel. Leave comments and suggest other stories. And yeah, on to the next.